In our last episode, we found out what it meant to live as the nation of Israel underneath God's perfect and sovereign rule. He shares with Moses all of these commandments, and although we often talk about the 10 commandments, there's actually many more than that. Some of them are hard for us to understand because we live in a different culture, and so the 10 commandments have kind of become the big 10. But as we read last time, the very first one was, don't make another image. Don't make another false god out of sticks and stones and metal. So the Egyptians did, and it didn't go well for them. And I am God. I'm jealous. I'm jealous for you. I want to be in right relationship with you. You can't give my glory and honor and praise to something that you carved with your own hands. It's just not okay. And then it gets real fast. Because we see that the people who are left at the base of the mountain, they're not up on the mountain with Moses, who's talking with God about all of these things. They kind of get antsy. And in today's reading, we start off with chapter 32 of Exodus. And the very first verse says, when the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron, Moses' brother, and said, come, make us gods. So it took a little longer than they thought it was going to. They started to get nervous because their leader wasn't there in that moment. Now they knew where he was, they knew that he was with God, but he wasn't in front of them, and that made them nervous. And then it's so sad because it says in verse 2, Aaron answered them, take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, your daughters are wearing and bring them to me. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron, and he took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf. Realize, these people, these men and women were slaves in Egypt, so they didn't have spare jewelry lying around. This was jewelry that the Egyptians would have given them on their way out because they were in such awe of who they were and who their God was. But now they're taking those mementos and they're crafting it into a metal image, the very first thing that God said not to do. And this breaks God's heart. This is the very thing he said to don't do is the very first thing that they do. And while Moses is up there with God, he can hear the sound of revelry. It says this party that's going on, and Moses gets afraid and thinks that it's war coming, but it's not war. It's wildness. It's revelry. It's this party. And God basically shares with Moses and says, I regret that I did this. I'm gonna wipe them out. Moses intervenes and says, please, no, don't do that. Please spare your people. And God relents. He's such a friend to Moses, and it's kind of odd for me to think about changing God's mind and changing what happens, but Moses intervenes and he intercedes, which is a great picture of how Jesus interceded for us. But that's a different story. But God relents, but then when Moses walks into the camp and he sees what they're doing, he's carrying these big stone tablets that has the law, God's commandments written on them. And when he sees the people in this wild living bowing down to an image that they made with their own hands from the jewelry that the people gave them because God had done such a miraculous work, he smashes that covenant. He smashes those tablets, and it's such a symbolic moment to me of the broken covenant that's happening all around them. And it's a very sad moment. It's a very grave moment. And it's easy to point fingers and be like, those Israelites, they're so dumb. But the thing is, I think we do it all the time. How many times does God say, don't do that, or that's a bad idea, or it's just not right living? And yet we go, but it's taking a really long time for the other thing to happen. And so even though it's kind of a somber moment, we're going to leave it there and just realize that God doesn't wink at your sin. It is real and it is serious. And there are consequences. Those people are going to pay those consequences for a good number of years. And even though it's sad, it still shows the sovereignty and the holiness of God.